Hi YouTubers, this is Yvonne Yoli Lover EL coming to you with my latest tutorial. I want to apologize up front. I was supposed to post this on Friday. Sorry I didn't get it up until Saturday. Life interrupted us. That's all I can say. So anyway, let's get started. Right here I'm showing you the hands that are the male hands, and now I'm going to start my female hand. Okay, start off by starting a group layer. I start with a group layer because if I start with a switch layer, I won't be able to see each hand. I will later convert this into a switch layer, and I will call this female hand. Now, inside that group layer, I'm going to put a bone layer called front, which this is the hand facing front where you can see the palm of the hand. And inside of that front layer, I'll put my first vector layer, and it will be called palm, for the palm of your hand. Okay, taking my create shape tool, I'm going to make a rectangle, and then I am going to add points to this rectangle to tweak it out to give it the shape of a woman's palm, which have the man's hand up in the background so that I can make sure that I make this hand slightly smaller than the male hand, because I do not want my female hand, I do not want my female hand as big as my male's hands. Okay, so before I get my next layer, I have to fill this in. So select the shape and fill it in with the color shading from the male's hand. Okay, then I'm going to smooth out some of these sharper points up here at the top of the palm to make the hand more ladylike and smooth. Alright, now add a new vector layer. I'm going to call this pointer. That's for your pointer finger. Again, starting with the select shape tool, I'm going to make a long rectangle. Excuse me. After I adjust these points, now I'm going to select the two side points, go up to Script, Draw, Split Curve, and I want 5 points in between those two red highlighted points. So I'm going to type in 5 and OK. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side of the finger and add in 5 points. Okay, now I'm going to do a little bit of tweaking. So if I go quiet, that is the reason why. As I told you before in my other tutorials, when I am tweaking, I tend to get pretty quiet. Even when I'm doing the voiceover, when I'm watching myself to do this voiceover, I also go quiet while I'm watching it. Strange, I know, but that's just me. Now I'm going to tweak these points until I got them where I think it looks okay, but I will tweak it some more. I am the tweaking queen. I will tweak these things within an inch of their life. Okay. Now I'm going to just put one line on the female hand. I don't want the female hand to have as many lines as the male hand, so it's a smoother palm and it makes it look more feminine. Right now I have 4 points in this line. I may downgrade it to 3. I'm not sure yet. Select the shape, hit space and enter, and then go into the width, line width. taper these points down to 0. I select a shape to make the fingernail. Since this is a girl's hand instead of a boy's hand, this hand does have the tip of the fingernail exposed above the hand. Ah, Anime Studio does this to me. I don't know if it does it to anyone else, but sometimes it gets crazy on line width. You can see I put down for a 0.5 line width, but it insisted on giving me a size 2 line width. And I have to go over and manually with the width tool change it down to a 0.5. I do not know why it does that. It just do, and it just drives me crazy. But anyway, let's continue. Now this is going to be the fingernail that sticks above the hand, and I'm not sure quite how I'm going to do this, because this is really the first time I'm trying to do a female hand in Anime Studio like this. So I'm finna go quiet and start tweaking this fingernail and getting it onto the hand. So let's go. Tweaky, tweaky, tweaky. Normally when I'm doing this, I'm listening to music, but I found when I let the music play when I'm talking, it sort of drowns my voice out. So I don't do it anymore. I'll go back and narrate over this and give you just my delightful, wonderful voice. And it's going to be a lot of this going back and forth until that finger looks halfway decent to me. Okay, now I'm going to duplicate the pointer finger and call it middle. Of course, it's the middle finger. I'm going to move this over to the left, select all points and move them over to the left. Okay, now select the scale tool so I can make this finger a little bit longer, a little bit thicker. And of course, this is not the final adjustment. Like I said, I will be tweaking these fingers a lot more until they get to the exact way that makes me happy, where I won't be going crazy over them. So now let's make the pinky finger. Same thing, duplicate the pointer finger and then move it over to the left. And adjust the points. Shrink the finger just a little bit, because if you look at your hand, you'll see that your baby finger is noticeably smaller than your other fingers. But when you only have 3 fingers, I don't think it's as small as it is when you have the 4 fingers. So I'll go about here and then start tweaking the points some more. Move the pinky finger above the middle finger, so it's pinky, middle, pointer, palm. Slightly curve it out. Oops, take off shift. Slightly turn it out. And then do the same thing with my pointer finger. Okay, then above the pinky finger, I'm going to make the thumb. And I'm going to do the woman's thumb slightly different than I did the male's thumb, because I want to try to get it not as bulky. I want it to be slightly slimmer than the male's thumb. So let me work with this a minute and see what we shall see. Okay, and then the rectangle tool for the select shape tool again, and make a rectangle to make the length of the thumb, to make the rest of the thumb. The circle I use to make the fat padded part of the thumb, and the rectangle to make the finger part of it, the digit that sticks up. Okay, and tweaky tweaky tweak. And then the fingernail from the side view. Okay, now select shape and color those in. And once again, Anime Studio gave me a size 2 line when I requested a 0.5. So let me shrink these back down. And now let me do some line width adjustments, because that doesn't look quite right. I'm probably finna go quiet again as I tweak this. Okay. Excuse me for the silence. Thumb looks a little short, so I'm going to elongate it a little. That looks better. Bring that side in. Okay, comparing it with the male's hand. Yes, that does look smaller and more feminine. Okay. Okay, I'm finna go back into tweaking these fingers some more, because they're still not looking quite right to me. So let me do this and I'll be right back. Okay, next to do is add the bones to the hand. There's the base bone, the thumb, and then the finger bones. I'm going to do a little bit different with the girl's hand. I'm going to put 3 bones in her thumb. So let me put down the base bone, and then 1, 2, 3 for her thumb. I'm going to see how that works out. And then it's 1 for each finger. Remembering always to go back to your base bone so that the chain of parenting is correct. Okay, after I've added the bones, excuse me, I need to take down the bone strength. Okay, right now I'm going to go with the same bone strength I used on the male thumb, but because I'm using 3 joints on the female thumb instead of 2, I may have to go back later and change those bone strengths. If you want to see what bone strength I'm using for each bone, please feel free to pause the video and look at the bone strength that I'm using. Okay, as you can see, the bone strength is still at its fullest on all of those bones. I do not use flex binding, so I'm going to delete the strength all the way down to 0 because I use points binding for my rigging. And right now, I'm just testing how far that thumb will go over before I bind points to it. It's easier to check the bone movement before I add the actual drawing to it because I can see better how it's moving. But then again, I still have to tweak it after I attach the points to it because you see some funny things going on that you have to fix. And you may have it still bending too far or not bending far enough. Okay, even though I'm putting a bone constraint on this base bone, I'm going to give it a bone constraint of 0, 0 because I don't want that bone to actually move. It's just an anchoring point for all the other finger bones. The main bone that will move this hand from left to right will be the bone that's attached to the full body. I'm still not quite happy with these bones in the thumb, so I'm going to tweak with them for a few minutes. I'm going to fast forward it so you don't get totally bored with this video. Okay, give me a second and I'll be back. Okay, those settings look good for now. Now it's time to name my bones. Each bone gets a name, so it's easier for me to tell um, what bone is doing what when I put the actions to them. So this base bone, of course, is going to be named base. And then the first bone of the thumb will be named T1. And then the second bone will be named T2. And of course the third bone will be named T3. Now the finger bones, they are easy to name. They get the same name as their layer name. The pointer finger, the middle finger, and the pinky. Okay, I decided to change the thumb bones from T1, T2, and T3 and just go ahead and name them thumb 1, thumb 2, and thumb 3. Alright, the last thing I do before I start adding actions to these bones is to bind the bones to the points of the hand. So starting off with the thumb, I'm going to go to the base bone and I'm going to bind all the points of the thumb to that base bone. Okay, then going to the thumb 1 bone, I'm going to bind all the points except for the points that make up that fat padded part of the thumb. Oops, wrong. Okay, got to select those points again. And bind them to the thumb 1 bone. Then going to the thumb 2 bone, I'm going to select the points that I want to bind to that bone. Then to the thumb 3 bone, going to bind what would be considered all the points from that last joint in your hand all the way to the fingernail tip. Oh, I'm just stumbling all over my words today. Okay, all the points are bound. Let's see how that looks. Okay, that looks good. And now going to the finger bones. With the finger bones, I do the same thing. I bind all the bones to the base bone. I bind all the points to the base bone and then select the finger bone, and I'm going to bind all the points except for the bottom points, those bottom 3 points, to the finger bone. Hold down shift and get that other point. And bind that. That's just like your hands. Whenever you move your hands, where your fingers start from never moves. They stay attached to the palm in that spot. So that's why I'm leaving those bottom 3 points bound to the base bone. And now I'm going to do the same thing for the middle finger and the pointer finger. Okay, that's it for this tutorial. In part 2, I'll be showing you how to add actions to this hand so that the hand closes into a fist. So if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and share the video with your friends, and also press the like button. And until next time, this is Yvonne, Yoli Lover EL, telling you bye bye until next time.